Went back to my old swing.
I get where, the thought process is if I try to feel like I'm going to cut the golf ball,
Right.
that it'll fix a lot of this, but it's really what is creating the cut and how do we do it. So a lot of times what we feel like we're doing, this is where the video kind of lets us know what's actually happening. The more you keep trying to move your arms away from you and that cut feel,
Right.
the more incentive there is for you then to route it back to the inside. Almost think like Jim Furyk or Ryan Moore, right? The more you start lifting it out,
right,
unless you change the transition in the sequence, you're just going to loop it back. And that's exactly what's happening here is the movement that you're trying to do, and even though it feels like you're giving yourself the right direction, it's almost encouraging more of what you don't want, right? So the more the arms lift, the more the club tends to lay off at the top of the swing, and the more for you, the more the incentive then is to start taking these hands and driving them back behind you this way.
Right.
I mean, you hit a couple good ones there, but with those arms kind of in this really, really trapped position here,
right,
it's going to be hard for you ever to get your hands far enough forward and hit the ball the way you want it to. I mean, this takeaway and this backswing a little bit more than what you're doing on the left over here, where you're just, the more you lift your arms out, the more you're just ingraining that feel. Short term, though, if you need to go play golf and this is helping,
right,
then go for it. But long term, this is a little bit better takeaway. You'll see the club doesn't get as laid off at this position in the swing. It's still a little laid off at the top, but, unfortunately, we got to kind of leave that laid off position alone for a while, because this is the movement you have to change, this pattern here where you want to drag your hands into your right hip and get this club away from the inside. That's where your hook is coming from.
right.
So that has to all change. On the left here where you start getting way trapped and hooky, right, we're actually at a pretty similar spot at the top of the swing without a golf ball. Right? There's not a whole lot of difference between those movement patterns.
Right.
So the hands there's this down and out pattern to the golf ball, right? And so we need either a little bit more or less of that. So in your case, you just go down too fast where your hands drop below that line significantly. Right? Now you're swinging away from the inside. You're in this kind of stuck position. Your body or your hands can't keep moving forward, so they just kind of flip coming through and hit a big hook. Well, now you're taking this hand and you're moving it much more on that straight line back to the golf ball.
Gotcha.
Right, so that's the position that we want to see or get closer to prior to impact versus where you are here. Just the difference of this would be the side of your body, and here is your right elbow relative to that, versus here is the side of your body and your right elbow relative to that. So it's about as stuck a position as I've ever seen out of a player, where you just take your arms and jam them across your chest.
Right.
Looking on the face-on view, you're going to see now the difference in the sequencing, too, of where the hands can get to. So as you transition, you take your left arm and you go this way with it. Move it kind of down and across your chest,
Right.
versus moving it more out and in front of the body.
So my first move normally
is get rid of so much downward. And again, part of it, like I said, is keeping those hips a little deeper so there's a place for your arms to go.
Right.
But look at the difference. So the path of your hands on the left is like the path that I want to try to get like 90% of my players to feel. Right, where your hands actually go this way before they start moving down.
Right.
Versus we're just, even if they just would move out just a little bit, right? There's always going to be a certain amount of kind of outward to the hands as they start down. So even right there, just that changing that pattern from here to the initial movement being here. Now you watch as you transition, your arms are a little bit more in front, not so far behind you. So I look a lot at this right elbow, right? That right elbow's got to be in front of that hip a lot sooner.
Right.
So where the butt of the club is, basically back by your heels, versus now the butt of the club at least kind of in front of the heel there. And then we're going to see a little, even though you hit the stick, we're going to see a little bit of this light here versus your left arm is just trapped against your body there.
Right.
So a couple practice swings again. Right, sense from the top, push the hips out of the way, get the arms in front. And then nice and easy, trying to ball right here. It's just hard to do when you put a club in there. Right, so you see now your left arm is going this way.
Right.
Versus like that. And so you watch, I'll just bump the shaft back in the right spot there. But that's the feel. So here's the side of your torso, here's your right elbow. So it's just moving, it's just understanding how to move your right arm in front of your body better. It's not just moving the right shoulder out, right? It's moving the arms. So just feel your arms this way, not this right shoulder going like that. Right. There you go. That's it. So I mean, that stick is your best feedback and understanding playing, right? So to speak. So we pump the arms down in the right spot. You rock your shoulders back a little bit. The arms are already in front of the pivot. And there's that kind of dropping action, but with the arms already back in front, there's the club right where it needs to be. There's the right elbow in a perfect position. So this is where we're trying to get you in the normal, in a full swing, but you have a kind of a excessive low to the arms at the top, and then you just drag this left arm down your chest too much from the top of the swing. So it gets that club too far under, too far closed. This is perfect on the right here. Then you look at the face-on view. Now you've got your arms back in front of your pivot, and your hands are forward as you're striking the ball. So that is the movement pattern we're looking for. Let's do that. Here's the feel we're trying to create with your arms, right? This is super exaggerated. I'll never get my handle that far forward, but here's my side of my body, here's my right elbow, here's my left arm. So that's like the exact opposite of how you're swinging the golf club with how you're working your arms. Right, so I get this sensation, and then when I go to add a little bit of rock to the move, right, my arm does move in a little bit more, but it at least stays more in front of my pivot than where you're at over here with your arm. And it's just a simple little drill to kind of accomplish that with. Is you're doing the correct movement over and over and over again.
Right.
So you're exaggerating the correct movement, to the golf ball. So you'll never have the hands that far forward prior to impact, but that's the good feel. There's that right elbow in front of your torso here, which is what we're trying to get you to feel. So you've got the feel. This is what it is. All right, let's try to make that swing. Then it gets pretty close. That same spot. You lead with the hands into impact there. Elbows are a little separated, but that's okay, better than they were.
Right.
And you're not swinging 30 degrees into out, hitting giant hooks.
Right.